spend all day in court representing those who can't defend themselves and come home to be a wife and a mama to a crazy toddler. My name is Bridget Summers, and I'm a miraculous mama.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Miraculous Mamas. I'm your host, Elizabeth Joy, and we believe in empowering women through storytelling and education. If you've been listening the last couple months, you know that we have just had such amazing people on educating us and helping us learn and grow, and it's just going to continue into the new year. I am so excited for what the rest of this month holds. It is going to be amazing. I have Missy Garcia on the episode today. She talks about sexuality and leadership and healing. So this might not be an episode to listen with your little ones. But it is really, really good stuff. So I definitely recommend staying tuned in. And speaking of tuning in, if you're listening to the podcast, please subscribe and let me know what you love about it. Leave a review and let me know what you're learning from it, and just share. The best way that you can help this podcast is just to share it with people that you know could get something out of it, people that you know would benefit from listening and just being a part of our community. So just make sure that you are subscribed and that you are sharing this with other women, because we would love for them to join us in this. And speaking of joining us, join our Facebook group. Our Facebook group is awesome. The women in there have been so extremely supportive of each other and of me. And it's just such a great place to learn and grow and to know that you're not alone on this journey, whether you're trying to conceive or you want kids, you have kids, you're a grandma. We have literally everybody at every stage of their motherhood journey a part of that group, and they are just awesome. I cannot say enough about our group of women who have just stood by each other and been through the ups and downs, and not everybody parents the same way or has the same beliefs or views, but in our community, we support that with each other too. So it's such an amazing community to be a part of if you are looking for one. Later on this month, I'm going to be having Dr. Axe on to talk with us. He and his wife just announced that they are pregnant. I'm so excited for them. And then I'm also having Dr. Jolene Brighton on to talk about PCOS. It's something that I have heard so many of you guys talk about, and I've had people reach out and ask if I could do an episode on it. And I've been waiting to bring the right person on. And I'm so glad that Dr. Jolene Brighton has agreed to come on. She's going to talk to us about that. She's going to talk to us about finding the right prenatal vitamin and just a lot of other things. So I'm super excited, but I cannot wait for you guys to hear today's episode. I hope that you leave this feeling empowered, feeling more in tune with yourself, and also knowing that you can reach out to Missy because she just has so much great information for us. So I'm going to go ahead and grab her. All right, everyone, I have Missy Garcia here, and I'm super excited that she's on because we have not had an episode talking about sex. It comes up in conversations a little bit here and there, but I'm really excited to dive into some nitty gritty with her. She's a sex and leadership coach, and she's going to answer a lot of questions for us about how sex and leadership go together. What does that mean as a woman? How do you incorporate that into motherhood? And she has been doing this work for so long. She's awesome. She does retreats, and she's coming to us from New Zealand. And now I'm like, why did I not come out there to do this interview live? So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. And then, hey, when you come out here, we can do another one.
Yes, I would love that. But yeah, so just tell us a little bit about what you do. Because like when you hear you're a sex and leadership coach, what does that mean?
Yeah, so I work with entrepreneurial women to help them tap into the full potential of who they are. What I've noticed from my own entrepreneurial journey was that I was leading and growing from more of a head and heart space. And it wasn't until I tapped into my sexuality and started to lead from a full body place that my self-worth went up, my confidence went up, just my innate power, my grounded connection into who I was and what message I had was able to be shared from that place, from this full, powerful space. So I help women to tap into all of who they are and how to tap into the power of their sexuality to get them to where they're wanting to go. Plus, there's so much healing around our sexuality that a lot of times when that's disconnected, that actually prevents us from really thriving in our own leadership because there's shame, disconnect, feelings of, not being worthy and that sort of stuff. And a lot of that lives within our sexual center. So it really opens women up to their full potential.
Yeah. All right, I want to take a minute to tell you guys the benefit of switching to an all-natural deodorant that doesn't have aluminum in it, parabens, or talc. I know that we've done a lot of episodes talking about sperm health and preparing your body for pregnancy. And one step to doing that is eliminating toxins in your life. And I remember reading an article about how if you're going to start eliminating those products out of your life, the first step is to get a clean deodorant, which is why I'm a huge advocate and fan of Native deodorant. They are awesome. Their ingredients are found in nature, such as coconut oil and shea butter. They use tapioca starch to absorb the wetness. They never test on animals, and they have free shipping and returns. And the best part, it's formulated without aluminum, parabens, or talc, those yucky products, and it works. Making the switch to an aluminum-free deodorant can be scary, and you might feel like you have to sacrifice on smell. And I am here to tell you that you don't, because I am a smelly woman, guys, and this is an amazing deodorant. It's the first one that has worked for me, where I put it on in the morning and I actually still smell good that night, which is like a huge amen moment for me, and especially for Vito, because he doesn't have to smell my pits. And they have over 9,000 five-star reviews, which just shows what an awesome company they are. They use ingredients and they are worth it. Just because of it being a safe and effective product. And they have something for everyone that comes in a wide variety of amazing scents for men and women. Plus, they release new limited edition seasonal scents throughout the year. And they offer unscented formula and baking soda-free formulas for those with sensitivities. And they have other products just besides deodorant. So I highly recommend checking out their website because they are awesome. I've been using them for about 6 months now, and I don't think I'm ever going to go back to anything else. And right now we have an awesome offer for you guys. For 20% off your first purchase, visit nativedeodorant.com and use promo code Miraculous during checkout. That is 20% off your first purchase at nativedeodorant.com using promo code Miraculous. I'm super interested on where this conversation is going to go because I'm really curious about a lot of things that you just said. So when you talk about coming from in leadership, so we've been talking on here a little bit about how we need more women in leadership because just changing the conversation of mothers and women and creating jobs that are for working moms and creating jobs that are that fit into our lives these days. And the best way to do that is for women to kind of step into their own roles and lead from there. And when I think about linking sexuality with that, I have a really hard time visualizing, I guess, what that is. And I picture a sexy businesswoman, but I know that's not what you're saying. So, how do you connect, I guess, sexuality with, how do you connect that into leadership?
Yes. So actually our sexual center is connected to our voice.
Okay.
There is an actual genetic link, and that link was created at 15 days embryo.
Wow.
Also, if you think of cranial sacral therapy, if you've ever heard of that, there is an actual link between the top and the bottom. So when we are disconnected from our sexual center, it's going to affect our voice. as women in general, our voice has been repressed.
Mm-hmm.
So as we're rising into leadership, oftentimes women have trouble speaking their needs, speaking their desires, really like speaking with confidence. If they're in a room, especially with men, to be able to stand in their power with their voice and to speak what it is, their ideas, their creative expression, all of that. And when you are connected into your sexuality, it's like, boom, makes it so much easier for you to stand in that power because you're fully connected into it and not disconnected and just trying to speak from a headspace. So that's one link. Another link is connection into our creativity. Leadership is creativity, right? You need to have creative expression. You need to tap into creative ideas, problem solving, being able to just like see things and go for, what it is, switch things, like that's all creativity. And so our creativity comes from our sexual center. As women, we create life. And when we're disconnected from that, then it's going to affect our creative expression in all areas of our life. So that's another link. Also confidence, we think, kind of comes from just like thinking about ourselves positively and having self-love and being, again, in a head space. But if you're fully, deeply rooted and connected into all of who you are, and a lot of us disconnect from our sexuality and our sexual center, when we're fully embracing all of that and really tapped into the power of us, you exude confidence from the inside, not just from thinking about it. So that's another thing with leadership too.
Yeah. As you're saying it, it definitely makes sense. It's like kind of that missing link that we've been told forever that you kind of need to suppress. Like whether you've grown up, I know for me, like religiously, it's like, don't do this. And then you're supposed to get married and fully enjoy it and be in it. And I know that's a big struggle for a lot of people. But just kind of, there is so much from a certain, like just from a young age, shame and taboo and all these different words that you think are associated with sexuality as you're young growing up. So it's like, how are you supposed to then become this woman who fully embraces everything when you've been taught for so long to suppress it?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we have been trained to disconnect from that it's wrong, that it's bad. You can't like sex too much because if you do, you're this. If you can't, if you don't like sex, then you're this. Like we've gotten so many messages around it. And when I talk to women about tapping into their sexuality for their leadership, it's not about sex with a partner. It's really just tapping into the power of your own self, being able to be with yourself and your own energy and your own power and your own pleasure, and being able to use that as your fuel, not to exude it out as a manipulative sort of tool to try to get things, but just to be super grounded in who you are. And that's another thing that we've also been socially conditioned for us women to give our sexual energy away. I mean, you look at the tabloids, you look at Hollywood, you look at, advertisement, all of that is like selling of our sexuality as women. So we have so many mixed messages around it. And that's why I love tapping into this with women, because once they like get rid of the shame and tap into the power and really start to embrace themselves in this way, there's like freedom on the other end, freedom to just be who they are. And especially as mothers, I mean, I had to relearn how to be within my own sexuality once I became a mom, because there's again, a whole nother layer of conditioning as a mom and then, being a sexual woman.
Right. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because I'd really love to dive into a little bit of that, because I know a lot of our listeners are thinking of having a family one day, trying to have a family, or new parents, or, just had their second kid. A lot of people are still in the newer years surrounding that. And I hear so much, especially working as a birth doula too, that after you have a kid, your hormones are kind of messed up. Things are balancing out, but just that so much of your sexuality changes. And how do you begin to find that again after stepping into this new role?
Right. For me, what I had to discover is how to step into that new role for myself, what it meant. Because it seemed like the second I had my first child, I have two, the second I had my first child, it was like, mom, that's all I knew. I didn't know how to, be an individual anymore. I didn't know how to be a wife. It was like just mom. Like I completely lost myself in it. And the reason why I feel that happened was because I surrendered into the social conditioning that was thrown at me of everything that I was expected to be. I was expected to show up like this as a mom. I was expected to do this as a wife. I was expected to do this, da, 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 da. And through that, me living into the expectations of others, I completely drowned out who I was as an individual. So I had to learn to let go of the expectations to find what was aligned for me. And through that, that's when I started to rediscover myself again. And I had to communicate really openly with my husband around what I was experiencing around being, sexual and being a mom and, having a baby and my body changing. And there was so many layers that isn't really talked about openly. And I had to go into all of those layers to heal them and to discover what each individual one meant for me and what felt good for me as an individual again.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to take a quick break from the interview to give you guys an amazing Christmas gift idea for all of you last minute shoppers. So don't save your Throwback Thursdays for just one day of the week. Bring new life to your old media with digitization. Get your digital files back on the thumb drive or a digital download through Legacy Box Cloud. I had so much fun as a kid, always being in different church plays and school plays and musicals, and all of those are scattered on different tapes, different forms of tapes, all sorts of different stuff. And it would be so cool to have all of the memories in one spot. And they are an awesome company. They are simple, safe, and smart. You just pack all of your media in and they will do the rest to get it all in one spot for you. Here's the breakdown of how it works. Legacy Box sends you a sturdy box. You load it up with your aging media, your videotapes, film reels, pictures, even audio cassettes, and send it in and sit back. They will take care of the rest of it for you, and you don't have to fret. Every item that you send in comes with its own barcode, so you can track them through the entire digitization process. And in a couple of weeks, you'll get your old media plus shiny new digital copies on a thumb drive or digital download through the Legacy Box Cloud. They offer multiple box options in case your parents were avid shutter enthusiasts or just special occasion snappers. No matter how many memories that you have to digitize, there is a kit for you. So what are you waiting for? This is the perfect gift idea for your parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, spouse. I know I was just in Texas over Thanksgiving with my family, and I brought back a giant tub of photos and all of this stuff from high school. So Vito and I are trying to gather all of our memories in one space. So you can help your spouse do that with this awesome gift. Your parents took all these photos, and now it is up to you to save them. Digitally preserve your old photos and videos before it's too late with Legacy Box. For a limited time, they are offering the listeners a huge discount. Go to legacybox.com legacybox.com/mamas to get 40% off your first order. Save your time and memories. Go to legacybox.com/mamas and save 40%. Now back to the show. So it kind of sounds like you have to have good communication as well to be able to, like, you have to have some sort of self-awareness to know that you have these layers, and that maybe stepping into a new role, you kind of have to go back and unpack, but also having that open line of communication in the relationship with your partner, I'm sure was super helpful, because you could come to him with your needs or explain what you're going through or what you're trying to discover or heal.
Yeah, because nothing changed for him.
Mm-hmm.
It was just, now we have a baby. And so he didn't realize the impact and all the things that were going through my brain on a daily basis. He didn't he was amazed when I finally got really honest with him about it. He was just like, whoa, because his brain doesn't work that way. Naturally, men's brains don't work the same way as women's do in general. And so when I let him into what was really occurring for me, then he could actually see it and accept it. And then that's where there was possibility to recreate what that expectation was,
mm-hmm.
and start to make it my own.
Right.
But what has helped the most, because I have a daughter and I have a son, so because I started to reclaim my own sexuality and release the shame that I held around it, now as they have started to grow and they start to, just naturally touch themselves and just, it feels good, or it's just their body, there's no shame that I'm protruding onto them about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just yeah, okay, yep, shower head feels good. Oh yeah, that's your penis. Yep. Yeah. There's no shame anymore with them. So it gives them freedom too. So I'm not putting my shame onto them and locking their sexuality down. It's become very open and something that we just talk about as an age appropriate way.
Right. Yeah. I know there is so many more people now as I'm getting older who bring the conversation of sex and your body and using the right language surrounding it at a younger age, and just talking about body parts. Those words aren't bad words,
Right.
Your vagina is not a bad word. Penis isn't a bad word. Those are what it's called. They're not, naughty parts or whatever other, I guess, certain language has been associated with it. But yeah, I feel like I know it has to be such a struggle, I guess, between when you do become a mom, just feeling like you have these humans to take care of, but you also have your partner and you have you. And I feel like a lot of people are in a situation where they feel like they have to choose between motherhood and sexuality instead of learning how to combine them. It's kind of like, I have to pick a role, like I'm mom right now. How you were saying kind of what you felt with your first. And I love what you're saying. I feel like I know so many people who don't know what reclaiming your sexuality is. They don't know what that even means, kind of learning how to even get rid of that shame in that phase of your life. So I'd love to kind of just dive a little bit deeper into what that might look like. Yeah.
So diving into that, it's going to be a very individualized journey. Mm-hmm. So I'll just be completely upfront about that. No journey is going to be the same. I experienced sexual trauma. And so my journey has been, a lot of deep healing around that for me to really come back into owning my sexuality. But part of it has also been just me starting to realize I am a sexual being and I do have desires that are absolutely okay to have. I would hold shame around that. And so becoming aware of where you hold shame. So do you hold shame around your body? Do you hold shame around your desires? Do you hold shame around, maybe you want to, experiment with something that has been taught or looked or frowned upon or something. So do you hold shame around that? Do you openly talk about sex with your partner? That was something that was I would get so triggered anytime that we would talk about sex because I held so much shame around it.
Mm-hmm.
And with that shame, I also held a huge expectation of the role I had to fill as a wife.
Yeah.
I had to fulfill his pleasure. I had to fulfill his sexual needs. And just that thought literally contracted me so deeply in my body, especially because of my trauma. I did not want to have to be expected to fulfill that for him. So what I did is I just shut it down, which affected our relationship. I mean, we would have sex, I don't know, maybe once a month. And I absolutely didn't do anything in between that. I was like, there was nothing, completely numb from the waist down, felt nothing. And so I had to go into, well, why is that? Why do I feel numb there? Why do I not have any sensations? Why do I not have any desires, or why don't I really feel pleasure? And I had to start to layer by layer, just go with a curiosity hat and start to see where that journey took me. That was kind of the big thing about it, was just starting to become aware. And then from there, I had to honestly have a lot of courage and know that I didn't want to lead a life that I felt just disconnected from the full expression of who I was. And that meant I had to go into healing my trauma and discovering what pleasure meant to me again, and what it felt like for me to be a sexual sovereign being, own my own sexuality myself and not have to fulfill a role for him, which also meant that he had to learn how to be his own sexual sovereign being as well. So that was it's been a powerful journey, and it's been one that we both had to go on to fully come into that very clear, conscious relationship.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what it sounds like. I mean, being aware, and just the fact that you were like, okay, this is how I feel. Why am I resistant? And being able to tap into that and go into that can be really scary, because it opens up a lot, and then you have to kind of heal and deal and go through it and let go of it in order to move on. And sometimes it is easier just to keep things suppressed than to open it up.
Yeah.
But
and
I'm
that's
sure
what we've been trained.
Right. Well, but I'm sure your relationship and your everything you were saying before is just so much better now because you did the work.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It was a choice. I was literally at a crossroads. I can choose to stay where I'm at in a shitty relationship that probably wouldn't make it. I could choose to still feel super unworthy, have really crappy confidence, feel just so in my head all the time. And it was spinning with so much stuff happening. And I would get triggered by so many things and emotionally just not there. My heart was totally shut down. So literally I was just really numb and honestly angry because there was so much trapped in my body. So I could choose to stay in that life and wherever that's going to take me, or I could choose to go and do the work to create freedom. And I didn't know that was even possible or what that even would look like. And it wasn't sexuality wasn't my first step, to be honest. I had to do a lot of other healing. Sexuality was my last step. It was I healed a lot of wounds around my upbringing and childhood and with my dad and past relationships. And I literally was when I was raped, that didn't do anything. It's fine. I'm strong and it's not that big of a deal. And I would like keep pushing it to the side. And it wasn't until I was like, okay, I've done all this other work and so much has improved, but I still feel numb and I still feel disconnected. And I still feel like I'm not really allowing myself to fully be who I am. And sexuality was the last step for me. And so that's where I went in to heal that.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to take a break from the show to talk to you guys about my new favorite company. You guys probably all know what it is to shop at, and that is Everlane, because they are so amazing. They only make premium essentials using the finest materials without traditional markups. They want you to know what you're paying for and why. So they tell you their real costs. They are radically transparent about every step in their process, from the materials they use to the ethical factories that they work with. It's so cool when you go on their site and you're ordering a product, it shows you what factory your product is coming from. No matter your style or preference, Everlane's clothes look better, cost less, and last longer because they sell directly to you. Their prices are 30 to 50% lower than traditional retailers. They make essentials just like their cotton crew t-shirt. I have a white one. It's awesome. Black turtleneck. And they're exactly what they should be. Versatile, simple, stylish, and made from quality materials. I just went to New Orleans last weekend, and all I packed was my high-waisted black jeans from Everlane and these amazing Italian-made black tennis shoes that I got from there. And I got so many compliments because I have a hard time finding flattering jeans because I'm a curvy girl, but their jeans were so flattering. All my cousins were like, where'd you get those pants? I love those pants. You look so good. And I'm like, have you been going to the gym? I'm like, no, I'm just wearing Everlane. Their clothes are amazing. I have a few pair of their pants, a few t-shirts, some shoes, and I absolutely love them and highly recommend. It's not too late to order and get free shipping, to wrap a gift to put under the tree, or throw something in somebody's stocking from them. And I promise once you try them out, you are going to fall in love. And I obviously love them as well because of their commitment to eliminate all virgin plastic from their supply chain by 2021. They are awesome. Again, I love supporting ethical companies and people doing positive things for the environment. And right now you can check out our personalized collection at everlane.com/mamas. Plus you'll get free shipping on your first order. That's everlane.com/mamas. everlane.com/mamas. I'm so glad that you're here talking about it because I know so many of the listeners can relate. I feel like we all have something, you know, in our past that, especially surrounding sexuality, that kind of we've carried into the relationships now. And if you haven't done the work, that can be such a block to deepening and enriching your relationship with your partner and as a mother and as a woman and in your career. And again, I feel like so much of it is these roles that we've been told. And I know, like, I get super triggered when I'm told, like, you have to do things this way. I get pretty rebellious and I'm like, watch me not. Like, watch me not do it that way, you know? And I know I had stuff with that I had to work through. And it is so hard. I feel like, I don't know why, like, sexuality is still taboo, but there's so much surrounding it. There's, you know, the roles we've been told, there's our cultural norms, there's trauma that happens. And yet it kind of is that last key when you're doing your healing that kind of gets you that breakthrough to the next level and into what you called like a conscious relationship.
Yeah. If you're in a relationship, your partner will trigger you like no other. And the reason why is because they are hitting those deeper wounds. So I like to look at my husband. We just celebrated our 10-year wedding anniversary actually last week in Samoa.
Congratulations.
And thank you. I like to look at him as the healer because he has contributed so much into my own healing. So instead of like looking at him as, you know, you're such an asshole or this or whatever, you know, which I used to, don't get me wrong. I used to, because he would trigger me so much. And so I would just project that onto him. Now, whenever I'm triggered by him, I can go, okay, what is it that he's hitting that I haven't quite healed yet? Mm-hmm. And so when we can see each other as that and, you know, being able to help each other heal, it's created such a new, intimate, deep relationship that I didn't know was possible before.
Yeah. And so is that kind of how you define a conscious relationship then?
So conscious relationship is absolutely being able to, for me, the definition would be like being able to be with each other fully. So you can allow all expressions of yourself to be seen, to be heard, and to be accepted. So whenever anything comes up for either one of us, we've been able to just sit down and like just say it. And he is an amazing man. And from, again, his conditioning and just being a man in general in this world, he was always trained like, I need to fix it. Mm-hmm. Anything that happens, I need to fix it. I need to make it better. And when he would come to me with that sort of demeanor from such a beautiful, like, heart space, right? Of just wanting to fix it, it would make me feel like I was broken or I was wrong or I wasn't good enough or something. And so now it's not him trying to fix anything, because he doesn't need to fix anything unless I specifically ask him for help with something. Mm-hmm. He just needs to hear me. And when he can just hear me and see me and accept me for what I am, that creates a very conscious space between us. And then vice versa. For me to just hear him, see him, and accept him, and trying not to fit him into any sort of box or any sort of expectation of what he's supposed to do or what a man is supposed to be, just allow me to just fully just see him and accept him. So there's nothing hidden. We don't hide anything from each other. There's no secrets from each other. We've been able to talk to each other about our, you know, deepest things that you would never think that you could express with a partner, because, if they know this about me, then they're never going to want to be with me, or they won't love me anymore. When you can break through that barrier and allow yourself to fully just be seen and express with each other, that brings a very conscious space. No longer projecting your stuff onto the other person. You're no longer trying to get your needs met by the other person. You're just fully in your own sovereign self. And then you can come together and create a very sacred, intimate relationship.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And it's so important. It's so cool that when you were doing the work, that your husband did it as well. Like that you guys were able to meet in the same space and be able to do it together. Because I've known relationships too where one person is starting to create that, but the other person is still just really stuck or can't, you know. So it's really cool that you were able to grow together.
Yeah, that was a big expectation that I had to let go of, though, too. Because I was doing all this work and working with all these different coaches and going to retreats and doing all this sort of stuff. And I would look at him like, what are you doing? Why aren't you doing this? Like, come on. You need to do this. You need to do that. Like, get your shit together. Go work on your stuff. And so that expectation that I was putting onto him actually was not only disempowering him, but it was disempowering me, because I wasn't seeing the power of my own growth and what just me doing the work naturally did for him. And so when I let go of that and just allowed his journey to be his journey and me just grow into what I was growing into, it 100% impacted our relationship in a very positive way. But when I was expecting him to do what I was doing, he was actually like retracting and contracting and not wanting to like be a part of it. But when I just let it go, it was like, cool, talk to me about what you're doing. And just me being super open and honest with him gave him the permission to start to be super open and honest with me.
Yeah.
When I was approaching him in a completely different way, it gave him permission and possibility to approach me in a different way. Mm-hmm. So I think we often underestimate ourselves as women of just the power that we do have to impact the people around us in such a positive way, even if they're not doing the exact same stuff that we're doing.
Right. Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. I'm going to take a quick break to talk to you guys about an amazing CBD company. By now, everybody's kind of heard of CBD, and there are so many potential benefits of using a good CBD product. That's right, a good CBD product, which is why I love Hemp Fusion, because they understand that CBD works best for your body when it's combined with other nutrients, which is why they have infused theirs with omegas and terpenes and other natural ingredients to help you feel amazing. They add all of this to create products that help you specifically with stress and to get better sleep and to have more energy. And I cannot name one person who I know that doesn't need to reduce some stress, get a little better sleep, or have a little more energy. And on most days, we need all three. And our bodies already make cannabinoids, and plant-based CBD helps naturally balance our bodies. Everything that Hemp Fusion does just adds up to an amazing product and just a better day for you. They have you in mind. And you can find their products both online and at a natural products retailer near you, and they ship anywhere in the US. And right now, you can use code MAMAS for 20% off your first order and free shipping at hempfusion.com. That's promo code MAMAS. Get Hemp Fusion shipped anywhere in the United States. hempfusion.com, promo code MAMAS for 20% off. A phrase that I learned a while ago that I loved is just, now I can't think of it. It's about transparency though. Like when you show up and be transparent, you allow others to do the same. And, and that is really cool. I think that letting go of those expectations, that is another work in itself, like you were saying, but doing that work is really hard. And what do you say to moms who they're in this new role and basically they have no sexual desire, or they're like, well, I'm just focused on being a mom right now and I can't focus on my partner and I have no sexual desire. Like, how do you help those women?
So depending on what stage they're at postpartum, it could be 100% normal for them not to have any sort of sexual desire. So I don't think that there's any right or wrong with that. So I just want to put that out there. Like there's no expectation of what it should look like, but start to have dates with yourself, no matter where you're at as a mom, whether you have, my daughter's 8, that's my oldest, or if you have a newborn, start to have some dates with yourself and start to woo yourself, have a sensual bath and just sit and feel the warm water on your skin, breathe into your body, smell the bubbles or the candles, have a glass of wine or some chocolate near you and just start to really tap into just the senses, what you're hearing and feeling and tasting and smelling, and just start to be with that and just woo yourself. Because your job as a woman and as a mom is not to fulfill your partner's sexual needs, but your job as an individual, as a woman of who you are, is to fully be in your own power. And when we're disconnected from our body, that takes us out of our full empowerment. So do activities that are going to bring you into your body and make that a priority. Yeah. And then who knows where that could lead.
Well, and when you are fully present in who you are and connected to all of that, you can step into those other roles so much more powerful. You can show up as a mother differently and as a partner differently. And it does look very different for every person. for sure.
Yeah.
But I love what you're saying around it. And how did your journey and then your journey with your husband, how did that go into parenting? I know that you talk about conscious parenting.
Just my own growth really shifted how I parent, because I no longer was projecting my own pains that were unhealed onto my kids. I have been able to, again, let go of my own expectations of myself, expectations of my partner, but also expectations of my kids, of who they're expected to be. I mean, we have like our morals and our values as a family, but that might not fit into other morals and values as other people's families, but it fits into ours. Mm-hmm. And that's what's important, and allowing them to blossom into who they are naturally with their own gifts and their own abilities, and also just being able to just hear them differently, see them, accept them, and no matter what, bring that quality to them. I think that's so important. Just so they know that they're heard, they know that they're seen, they know that they're accepted no matter what. That's the thing that, like, if my kids grow up and do whatever they end up doing, if they look back on their childhood and just go, oh, I knew my mom and dad always like were there for me no matter what, then I'm like, I did my job.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it does for sure take a team effort for that as well. You know, and you were saying kind of, you know, in your marriage, then things came up for you and your husband would say things that triggered you. It's like marriage serves as a mirror. And then when you have children, it's amplified even more because it's these little kids who have no filter and it's just pure innocence, and they bring out a completely different side of you. And you are kind of forced to face a lot of different things that you may not know are there and be like, why am I getting so angered at this? Or why, again, it's like another set of triggers that you have the opportunity to work through.
Absolutely. Especially if you have your own childhood trauma. A lot of times if women have trauma around men, they could unconsciously project that onto their sons because it's a representation of just men. And so that happens a lot. If you have, trauma around women, then again, you can unconsciously project that onto your daughters. If you have unhealed, wounds in your maternal or paternal side, you can unconsciously bring those onto your kids. And I'm saying this like it is extremely unconscious. And even now, I had a lot of trauma as a child. And my nervous system does get triggered, and I can recognize it now, which I couldn't before. I didn't know what it was. But when things get really loud, kids are naturally loud. And if you've met my kids, holy crap, they're super loud. And so when the room gets very loud from them just being who they are, my nervous system can get triggered in that. And it can bring me back to loud childhood and chaos in my childhood. And I have to literally leave the room and go breathe and calm my system to know they're not doing anything wrong, right? They're just being who they are, but my system gets jiggled from it. So my awareness has increased in that way for me to be able to, okay, I need to go breathe. I need to go take a minute. And I will even tell my kids, look, I just need some time. Mommy's having a little break. She needs a little me time. She needs to have a breather. And they understand that now. They don't understand why, because they're not in the mental space yet. Right. But I will teach them that when they're older. So, but they do know, mommy just needs her alone time. Okay. That's fine. It's important for them to know that it's okay for me to have alone time, for them to have alone time, for us as individuals to express our needs. And so I model that to them by saying, look, I need to go have a time out for myself and go breathe. So, and my husband knows too, like, I'll just look at him and be like, I need to, and he's like, okay, cool. Like, go ahead, go breathe, go do what you need to do to calm down. 'Cause Otherwise, if I don't, then I, often go into like anger and, just like freak out because my system just gets too overwhelmed.
Yeah. Yeah. So it sounds like kind of like a huge part of stepping into the embodying all of who you are involves kind of tapping into that, into your sexuality and into, I don't know, just kind of everything that you are, but that includes healing and learning to recognize triggers and learning to cope with them and taking those tools and resources as you move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also, if we bring this back to sexuality, when we're disconnected from our emotional body and all of the emotions that come through us, it actually affects our sex life because we're numbing ourselves out. And so if you're numbing yourselves out from pain and sadness and anger and rage and, any other emotion that comes up for you, then you're going to be numbing yourselves out from pleasure as well. And so when you can fully be in all of your emotions, it's going to positively impact your sex life because you allow yourself to just be in your full expression. I can't tell you how many times I've bawled, cried during sex, after sex, from just what comes through me. And it's not because my husband did anything or even through self-pleasure, practices, like just tears come through because there's so much sadness that's stored within our body, and our orgasmic energy, our pleasure, is the most potent life force energy within our body. And so when it moves through, it really helps to jiggle out things that have been stuck. So I've had anger fests and sadness and rage, and a lot of emotions have come up through pleasure because they've been locked down in my body. So learning those tools and how to be with all of it not only translates into every area of your life, but it also translates into the bedroom too.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And why, I guess, do you think it or feel it's so important to kind of have tapped into that as a wife?
I think it's important to tap into that as a wife because we lose ourselves in that role of wife. And when you lose yourself in your role of anything, you're going to naturally just start to feel some resentment. And that resentment will oftentimes go towards your partner. And if you don't talk about what you're feeling, if you don't allow it to be expressed, if you don't allow yourself to move through that, then oftentimes the relationship just comes to an end. And I'm not against divorce if it comes to that, but I think that a lot of times couples haven't been given the tools to actually do this type of work to move through what comes up. And so I think as a wife, also as a wife, when you can fully be expressed in your sexuality, us women, I think we're primal beings. We don't just want, plain, predictable, same old sort of quick sex all the time. Right. We want that deep intimacy where we just feel like a queen and feel so much pleasure, and we're just so in our bodies, and it's just orgasmic and explosive and just so powerful. And when you can have that with your partner, I can speak from my own experience. It's there's no way that either one of us would be seeking that outside of our relationship. Definitely not at this point, because it's just we have such a deep sacred connection and that sort in our sexual selves that it's it's powerful.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's so beautiful. What would you say to the women who are listening to this and they're like, oh my gosh, I've felt that way, or I want to know what this feels like, or I find myself really getting triggered by a lot of things my husband does, or any of these things that we've been talking about. The people listening who, as they're listening, things are coming up for them. What are some resources and or just next steps or how-tos would you recommend?
Yeah. So something that you can do right now is to feel what's coming up for you in your body. So do you feel like somebody's kicked you in the gut? Do you feel like heaviness in your chest? Like, start to just breathe into that and just tune into that, because that's what's stored within your body, is what you're sensing, versus trying to make a story about it in your mind. So I would invite you, literally right now, to just scan your body and just feel like, oh, what is coming up for me on a body level, and just start to feel into that sensation and breathe into it. And maybe some, messages might come up from that just by tuning in. So that would be the first thing. The next thing would be, I would seek somebody like myself or somebody else. Some people don't 100% resonate with me. And so I have referrals if you would like some other people to work with. But, check out my website and go and find a trauma-informed coach. Because triggers are most likely the underlying thing of some emotional trauma or physical trauma, or something that we have experienced that's not been healed. And so someone that's been able to help to integrate those, because there's nothing wrong with it. It's just a tool. It's just a sign of where there needs to be some healing. And then start to do the work. Grab some books, or, work with a coach, go to some retreats, wherever your body is taking you, tune into that and go oh, that's where I want to go, instead of where your mind is telling you that you should go.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Where can people find out more about you or get in touch with you?
Yeah, my website's a great place. So just missyagarcia.com, and all the information's there. I have a retreat coming up. I work with couples. I also work with women one-on-one. And so all the information's on my website, and all my socials are there too.
And her retreat coming up is in California. Is that correct?
Yes, my retreat is in Southern California.
So you don't have to fly to New Zealand to go to it.
Yeah. And I'm really excited about it. It's all geared towards deep healing, sexuality, and sisterhood, because, it's another thing. Us women have kind of gone out of the community of sisterhood, and we've been pinned against each other. And that's a huge thing with motherhood.
Yeah.
We're judging how we mother our kids, and, oh, I can't believe she's doing that with her child, and this, and it's just, it really is damaging to the sisterhood of women, and it creates this isolation. And so healing that wound and being able to come into sisterhood again is so important.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Yeah, I know that there are so many deep-rooted triggers around mothering and parenting, because the mom shaming and the judging that's out there is so intense sometimes, when everybody's just trying to do the best that they can. And I see it a lot, and that's amazing that you're doing that work and helping bring that sisterhood back around, because we truly are, everyone's on their own journey and doing the best that they can. And we need to kind of be for each other and not against each other in this.
Yeah, absolutely. And you, as a birth doula, before I got into this work, I worked as a registered nurse. And so when I was pregnant with my first daughter, I was working in the hospital at that time. And I knew I didn't want to have a hospital birth. I was just like, I work here. I don't want to have my baby here. And so I wanted a home birth, but my husband was kind of like against that. So we found a birth center, and that was like the middle ground for us. But I got so much shame from my coworkers around wanting to have the baby, A, without any medication, and B, not in the hospital. And there was so much that I got around that. It was crazy how much I had to defend my own sovereign choice of what felt right for me to have an out-of-hospital birth.
Right. And by you saying this feels right for me, you're not saying the other choices are wrong.
No.
Right. Or you're wrong for making that other choice. It's like, no, I'm doing what's right for me. You do what's right for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I hear that a lot.
Yeah. And that's what it's all about. That's what leadership's about too.
Yeah.
Is when you're so connected into who you are, you do what's right for you. You do what feels aligned for you. You're tapped into what that even feels like. And you have to be your own leader, because otherwise you're going to be going around doing what other people think that you should be doing. And that won't always be 100% aligned with your own self.
Right, right. No, absolutely. I feel like that's one journey that I've been on this year, has been leadership and just learning that, my mission and my purpose and my work doesn't change no matter who's doing what around me. Like I know what I'm supposed to be doing and what I'm really passionate about and how I want to help women. And my vision hasn't changed no matter what business deals have gone on, or no matter, again, what, people are doing around me or people in this similar industry or anything like that. I feel my mission and my purpose so deeply that I kind of have blinders on to what else other people are doing. And that's really, really helped me out recently.
Yeah, absolutely. That's just powerful, because then you're just like, whoop, so in it for you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's really nice because then you almost don't care. Like, you do care so much. Like, I care so much about this community and the podcast, but I did have to get to a point where it's like, if I have 100 listeners that are taking something from this, that's amazing. Or if I have 100,000, wow, that's awesome. But if I have that 100, it's like, it just being like, okay, if I'm reaching those people, then this is important. And that was a really big lesson for me this year. That was really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just about making the impact. Because when you can show up just from your full powerful self with your message of just what you have to bring, and people are naturally going to, unfortunately try to bring you down with that. But when you can just be so rooted in that, it's like, okay, that's fine. And things hurt along the way when people say things or whatever. Yeah, it hurts. You feel it, but you're still so deeply connected into your power. And that's where the sexual power comes into play with the sex and leadership for myself and for the people that I work with, because it's just like, I got it. I know my power. I know my worth. I know my message. I'm so connected into it on a body level that you can just keep going forward.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on. And the work that you're doing is incredible. And I'll have all of your information up on the show notes as well. So if people want to get in touch with Missy, look out for her coming back stateside. If you want to join her retreat, she has a lot of resources and stuff on her website as well. But thank you so much, Missy, again for coming on. And I look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you so much. It was so much fun.
Yep. Goodbye. I loved what she shared. She just seems like such an open, beautiful person who has done the work. Man, she has been through the mud and did so much work to find healing. And I know we talked about healing a couple weeks ago with Mark Woolen on, and he talked about family trauma. And there's just so much that each of us carries that has either been passed down to us or from our own life experiences. And healing yourself is such a big part of the journey in becoming a wife, a mother, just the woman that you were created to be. So I highly recommend finding a place where you can talk to somebody about that. Reach out to me, reach out to Missy. I love that she does retreats. I'm a huge retreat person. If there's another community that you feel called to that offers retreats or, talks about just kind of healing, I would definitely recommend doing that, because that is so important for your family and for you to continue to learn and grow and be the woman that you were created to be. I feel like I feel like I've done a lot of healing in my life and it hasn't been fun, but getting to the other side is so worth it. But when you're in it, it really, really sucks. And I was fortunate enough to know people and have resources to be able to get the help that I needed to begin to tap into who I am and that person I was originally created to be, not the woman who has baggage from the experience in this life that we've all gone through and are going through. And so it's been, I don't know, it's just a journey that I highly, highly recommend you tapping into if you so feel called to. And again, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'll try to put some resources together. I know that there's tons of communities as well that have free counseling, or there's, groups that meet up and offer benefits such as that. Also, feel free to join our Facebook community. Again, that's a place where we do get vulnerable. We do share tough things and we try to help each other out and to learn and grow together. I love you guys. I love you guys so much. Thank you for listening, and make sure that you subscribe and that you are following us on Instagram, on Twitter, and on being a part of our Facebook community. And if you guys, I would love it for you guys just to share the podcast. If you are listening, just take a screenshot and share it on your Instagram story and tag Miraculous Mamas and E Sandos in it. And I'm going to send you, the first 5 people who do it, a little stocking stuffer for Christmas. So I would love for you guys just to share that you are listening, because it means the world to me that you guys are a part of this community and that you are sharing it, because I know so many women who need to hear the messages, and the educators and the doctors and the mothers who are on here being vulnerable or educating us and sharing with us. And I want to continue to bring on these amazing people. It's free education for you guys. And in order to do that, we need our sponsors. We need your support with our sponsors. I need your support just spreading this podcast. And I appreciate everything that you guys have done for supporting Miraculous Mamas and for being a part of our community. I love you guys so much, and you mean so much to me. Next Monday will be the Monday before Christmas. So I want you to send in your Christmas traditions, send in one thing, and I will read some of those before we get into the interview next week. I hope you guys have an amazing week. I hope you're not going too crazy with last minute holiday shopping, and I will talk to you next week. Love you.
This podcast is brought to you by Wave Podcast Network. Check out all of our shows, including the Brain Candy Podcast, I Don't Get It, Coffee Convos, and Let's Talk About It.